Good to see you again. This is Miss Katherine Liu Bruce. Thank you, support, and continue pray for me and pray for Christians Ministry. As a self-employer founder, continue focus on the biblical precept and gospel music. Hopefully you will like it. And today I will focus on the weekly. The message is the victory of Christ at Armageddon. It's a very interesting topic, and welcome you join with me, study together, and learn together what is going on at Armageddon. And more we learning in the Bible, you will gain some confidence and strength from the Lord. My friend, are you still dwelling in the sickness and suffered of the depression? You may need to renew your spirit and vision in the Lord, and also renew your spirit and vision in the Bible, and to know the truth that our Lord Jesus Christ Messiah is the great King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Christians shall arise and shout for joy to the Lord in victory, because when we get upon the victory of Christ coming at Armageddon, Christ with a sharper sword to smite the nations, sharper than with an iron rod, and tread the great winepress. We shall rejoice, exult, and give the glory to the Lord. For today, you and I can be the chosen believers as the armies of Christ, which is mentioned in the Revelation chapter 19:14 and chapter 17:14. Those who are called to the wedding supper of the Lamb are those who constitute the bride of Christ. The victory of Christ at Armageddon. Let us try to discover the Old Testament and New Testament together. There were three prophets unveiled the same vision and the victory of Christ coming at Armageddon. First, Isaiah's prophecy in the 680 to 740 before Christ. In the book of Isaiah 63 verse 1 to 6, it says, "It is I speaking in righteousness, mighty to save. Why are your garments red, like those of one treading the winepress? I have trodden the winepress alone from the nation. No one was with me. I tremble on them in my anger, and trod them down in my wrath. Their blood spotted my garment, and I stained all my clothing. For the day of vengeance was in my heart, and the year of my redemption has come. I looked, but there was no one to help. I was appalled that no one gave support. So my own works salvation for me, and my own wrath sustained me. I trampled the nation in my anger, in my wrath I made them drunk and poured their blood on the ground." This is in the Isaiah chapter 63 verse 1 to 6. The second prophet, Joel's prophecy in the 835 before Christ, in the book of Joel 3 verses 12 to 13, it says, "Let the nations be roused, let them advance into the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I was set to judge all the nations on every side. Swing the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, trample the grapes, for the winepress is full, and the vats overflow, so great is their wickednesses. This is in the Joel 3:12 to 13. And the third, Apostle John's prophecy in the after the day of Christ 90s, in the book of Revelation 19:32-16, this New Testament, it says, "He is clothed a robe dipped in the blood, and his name is called the Word of God, and the army of heaven wearing fine linen, white and pure, were following him. on white horse. From his mouth comes a sharp sword with which to strike down the nation, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. He will trip the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God, the Almighty. On his robe and on his thigh he has a name inscribed, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. These three prophets also mention the same event and review the same vision. Apostle John mentioned about an iron rod and iron scepter twice in the Revelation 2:26 to 27 and Revelation 19:11 to 16. To everyone who conquers and continues to do my works, to the end I will give authority over the nations to rule them with an iron rod, as when clay pots are shattered. The Apostle John unveils the vision to the Thyatira church who wanted to be overcomers. They must overcome Jezebel, the prophetess teachings. Jezebel here signifies the Roman Catholic Church. The teaching deceive a slave to commit fornication and to eat food sacrificed to idols. Apostle John's mention about the iron, the rod of iron, again in Revelation chapter 19, verse 11 to 16, he says, Then I saw heaven open, and there were a white horse. Its rider is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judged and make a war. His eyes are like a flame of a fire, and on his head are many diadems, and he has a name inscribed that no one knows but himself. He is clothed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the army of heaven, wearing fine linen, white and pure, will follow him on white horses. From his mouth comes a sharp sword, with which to strike down the nation, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. He will trip the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God, the Almighty. On his robe and his thigh he has a name inscribed, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is Apostle John remind the twice the iron rod. What is iron rod? In the Greek literary and hardos sidorus, metaphorically interpreted as metal and iron, literally with an iron rod with a strict and merciless rule. In Chinese, literally say 铁杖, 铁杖. The iron rod is mean 铁杖, signified strong power. In the Revelation 19, verse 15, indicated that the sword proceeds out of the mouth of Christ, who is the Word of God, is the Word that will judge the rebellers. Okay, the Word of God is the word, W-O-R-D, that will judge the rebellers. The scepter here is to rule. The iron rod signified strong power. First, with his judging word, Christ will smite the nation. Then, with his strong power, he will shepherd them. He will shepherd those who remain. His ruling with strong power is his shepherding. He will rule over the nation by shepherding them. The Revelation chapter 19, verse 15 mentioned he will tread the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God, the Almighty. Christ being clothed with the garment dipped in blood is related to his treading the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God at Armageddon, where the blood will rise up to the bridle of the horses. The great winepress of the fury of God is the war at Armageddon, which is in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and it is very close to the Jerusalem. This war will be the treading of the great white press of the fury of God. All the Gentiles, the evil, worldly forces will be gathered there, and the Lord Christ with his armies, which are the overcoming saints. Maybe you and I become the overcomer. We will be the army of Christ, and go and follow the Christ and fight against them and destroy them there. This is a prophecy. 3 prophecies prophesies the same event at Armageddon. At the end of the great tribulation, 3 unclean the spirit out of the mouth of Satan, Antichrist, and false prophet will go forth, stir up the king of the whole inhabit earth, and together their foes, including the 200 million horsemen mentioned in the Revelation 9:14-16, to the war at Armageddon, which will be the last war among mankind before the millennium. In that war, Satan's intentions will be to destroy Israel and to fight against Christ and his army. For this, he will use all the rebellious mankind. Christ and his chosen overcomer will defeat and destroy them all. This is the treading of the wine press, which is recorded in the Revelation chapter 14, verse 17-20, Isaiah 63, 1-6, and Joel 3, verse 9-13. The last day of the Great Tribulation. My friend, let's focus on the last day of the Great Tribulation. Antichrist and the false prophets will be the first to be cast into the lake of fire. Unlike all the other who perish, they will be cast alive into the lake of fire without passing through death and resurrection. Once the 7th trumpet is sounding on the same day, the last day of the Great Tribulation, the following events will all take place. First, the kingdom of the world will become the kingdom of Christ. Second, the dead saints will be resurrected and will be raptured with the living saints. Third, the 2 witnesses will be resurrected and raptured. Fourth, Christ will executed the judgment at his judgment seat for the rewarding of the overcomer. Number 5, the marriage of the Lamb and overcomer will take place. Number 6, Christ and his newly-wed overcomers will come to the earth to defeat Antichrist and destroy those who destroy the earth in the war at Armageddon, and to cast Antichrist and the false prophets into the lake of fire. Number 7, by the war at Armageddon, Christ will rescue Israel from Antichrist besieging, and the whole house of Israel will repent and be saved. Number 8, the material Babylon the Great will be destroyed. Number 9, at the same time, the 7 bowls will be poured out. The war at Armageddon will occur at the time of the 6th bowl. The various plague of the 7 bowls will be executed by God on the same day, perhaps at the time when the few positive event mentioned previously will occur. After the death of Antichrist, Satan is bound and imprisoned, that the rebellious earth will be cleared up, and the kingdom of Christ will come. This conclusion, the application, implication, my friend, when I talk about this, my friend, when you realize that you are bride of Christ and the army of Christ, your inner man will overflow with joy, peace, and love, and secure in his faithfulness and truth. The earthly things will no longer entangle you and captive you. You will pursue the victory with Christ and follow him as an overcomer, ride on white horses, dressed in the fine linen, white and clean. Living in the present time, the saints must pray without ceasing and cooperate with Christ in mind and spirit, believing the soul which proceeding out of the mouth of Christ, who is the word of God, is the word, W-O-R-D, word that will judge the rebellious. With his judging word, Christ will smite the nation. Then, with his strong power, he will shepherd those who remain.